Alright, what's up Earth Rockers? It's your boy Shovatar, back again with the very last Legacy of Darkness video, the last N64 video. Not the last video ever, but the last of this. And, oh, should I do the narration again? Maybe I should. That'd be fun. Transylvania. In the mid-19th century, the province of Wallachia. In this time of peace and plenty, no one foresees the return of ancient horrors. But the old legends live, and soon the land will again be plunged into darkness. The people have returned to the path of wickedness, and the bonds that seal their evil ruler's spirit are weakening. So the narrator from C64 doesn't say this part, but it's funny because, like, at the end of Weakening, it kind of, like, cuts off. It goes, Weakening. Carrie Fernandez, a young girl gifted with great magical powers. Sensing Dracula's return, she sets off alone to the Dark Castle. Now she must wield her inherited power in the fight against evil. I actually don't remember how that last part goes, as well as I remember the first part. Anyway, if you don't know what the fuck I just did, there's an opening narration in Castlevania 64 that's actually voiced that goes along with that opening text scroll, and I just thought it would be fun to do it. Anyway, yes, Carrie hard mode. So, as I said in my previous Legacy of Darkness hard mode videos, Legacy of Darkness hard mode is like actually hard. Like there are things that happen in it that create serious problems that are not present in normal mode, which is sort of the basic thing I always try to figure out when I evaluate hard modes, because lots of these Castlevania games have hard modes, and some of them matter and some of them don't matter. They all matter to a certain extent, but some of them are very, very impactful, like, say, Castlevania 3's hard mode. Some of them, like, you would barely notice, like Castlevania 4 or, like, Belmont's Revenge. Castlevania 64 had a hard mode that was very bad, because it was, what they did for hard mode is they just buffed all enemy health. So it made a different, well, actually that's not true. They added a few extra enemies in the clock tower, and a few other odds and ends here and there, but mostly the biggest difference was that enemies had more health in C64 hard mode, which was obviously notable, like noticeable, but didn't really materially change how you played the game. Legacy of Darkness takes the opposite approach, where hard mode doesn't buff enemy health, but it buffs enemy damage, and especially buffs boss damage. And so the consequence of that, and I think buffs boss health. Some bosses have more health in hard mode. The first boss does, which I'll talk about very shortly when we get to it. But anyway, this is all to say that C64's hard mode, not that impactful. Legacy of Darkness's hard mode, impactful, in my opinion. More so in the Cornell story, but even outside of the Cornell story, still important. And because the first boss of Legacy of Darkness is like the hardest one in the Carrie Reinhardt story, in my opinion, except maybe Dracula Phase 3. But no, I'd say it's harder than that, because it's way easier to actually die. By the time you get to Dracula Phase 3, you have a bunch of healing items saved up in your inventory, so you can take a lot more damage. But the fact that the first boss is so hard means that I really, really want a weapon upgrade to drop from one of these fish guys. And I also don't want to take any damage from them, and that's why I'm kind of like running around a lot and like playing against these guys differently, is because I really don't want to get hit by them, because the boss is going to do a bunch of damage, and the chances that he hits me at least once are very high, and if he hits me twice, and I've taken a little bit of damage beforehand, then I will probably just die. So that was very good. I got exactly what I wanted. I didn't take any damage from the fish guys, and I got the weapon upgrade, so huzzah, couldn't ask for anything more. And I'll talk about why the first boss is so dangerous and such a problem when we get to it, and I'll have plenty of time to do that, because the boss fight is going to take a long time. And that's kind of the whole crux of the issue, because the boss's stats aren't any different when you play on Carrie than they would be with Reinhardt or Cornell. The difference is the Carrie just does way less damage. Or yeah, basically does way less damage. Isn't capable of doing the same amount of damage that Reinhardt and Cornell are doing, and especially Cornell can do in a very short period of time. Like like when you play against this guy on Cornell, you can just like kill him in like 3 seconds, and you barely even have to engage with him. Reinhardt's a little bit different. You do kind of actually have to fight him, but you can still kill him pretty fast. Carrie you really need to know his attacks and be able to react to them, because she's going to be fighting him for a very long time. So this may be the only Castlevania game I've ever played where like the first level is like practically the hardest one. Purely because of the boss. Most Castlevania level 1s are like, excuse me, are completely unremarkable. Also, a little thing to note here, this is Carrie's alternate costume in Legacy of Darkness, which is just her regular costume from Castlevania 64. Also, the other thing about Legacy of Darkness hard mode, item availability is very different. There's normally an axe there, but there's not one in the hard mode. But now I gotta talk about the boss. So the boss has four attacks on hard mode. He will either grab at you with his claw, which is what he did first, but the big problem is this attack, because when he aims that water thing at you, that's the attack that I've only ever seen him do on hard mode, where he slams his head into the bridge and like breaks off chunks of it, which now creates a hazard, in that you can now instantly die if you fall in that water. And also I want to say that his attack pattern changes depending on whether or not you get hit by that first water spout attack. If you get hit by that water breath attack, then he won't come up and do it again, he'll come up and do this one. But if he doesn't hit you with the first one, he'll try it again after breaking off a piece of the bridge. Anyway, yeah, this water attack is like the big problem, because he aims it at you. He like keeps aiming at you for such a long time before he finally shoots it off, to the point that you have to dodge like while the blue projectile is mid-air in order to actually not get hit by it. There's very little wiggle room. Like by the time, and the best way to do it is just do this really quick back and forth thing, because that way you don't have to like jump, you don't have to worry about timing a slide or a jump, you just have to slam the control stick back in the other direction to hard stop right when he's about to spit the projectile. So this was the... Jesus, he just keeps doing it. Yeah, I think he doesn't like it when he doesn't hit you with that. Which is why he just like is doing it over and over again here. Okay. And then this attack is pretty simple. The way that attack is supposed to work is that he roots you with the green slime, and then while you're rooted, he grabs you. I found the easiest way to deal with it is just crouch and then spam Carrie's melee attack to get rid of all the slimes, and then usually, even if I do get grabbed by the slimes, the fact that I'm crouching and meleeing means that if I get grabbed, I'll just instantly destroy it and then be able to jump over his hand. So that tends to work for that attack. So that's like the biggest hazard in the whole run practically out of the way. Well, that's not true. There's still a couple of big problems in the mid-game, and then the Tower of Sorcery in the late game. But anyway, that's the first boss. That was a no damage. I'm very glad that was a no damage. I was hoping for a no damage. But the fact that it was a no damage meant that I couldn't demonstrate a really important point in that fight, and why that fight is so important to learn, which is that if you get hit by any of his attacks, they do a lot of damage. Like the water spout attack, not only is it really hard to dodge, but it'll knock off like half of your health. And speaking of doing a lot of damage, our skeletal friend here is utterly unremarkable in all of his other incarnations in C64 and Legacy of Darkness. But on Legacy of Darkness hard mode, they decided that just to make him like more of a threatening enemy, that if you get hit by his club swing, I think it does like 99% of your health and damage. I thought it was a one-shot for a long time, but then I got hit by it once when I was at full health, and it brought me down to like a microscopic sliver of health, so I think it literally does like 99% of your health and damage. To the point that if you've gotten hit by anything else prior to that, you die, but if that's the only thing you get hit by, you don't. Obviously not relevant yet, because in this first like a little warm-up phase when you fight him, he only takes 2 fully charged shots to go to a different phase, but I think when I fight him again at the end of the level, that's going to be different. So just like in normal mode, I'm going to take the shortcut through the Forest of Silence, because I want to get to the 4th level on a certain timing, and that's going to be hard. That would be too hard to achieve with Carrie otherwise, because Carrie takes a long time to fight enemies, which is kind of her biggest problem. the charge up projectile shot thing is definitely conceptually very different from Reinhardt, and it makes sense that in C64, when they were coming up with 4 playable characters, they went with Reinhardt and Carrie as the only 2 that they could actually finish because they were the most distinct in appearance and in gameplay style. But I don't think it's that fun. The trade-off with Carrie, of course, is that she can move a lot more. Her slide takes her farther, her jump takes her farther, which isn't as impactful in like a lot of the gameplay as it might sound. At least not that I was able to discover. I was also never clear on whether or not she ran faster than Reinhardt. That would be nice if she did, because the more things they could have given her to balance out her like awkward combat, the better. So yeah, sub-weapons. Sub-weapons in Legacy of Darkness. They're very hard to find. Good sub-weapons are very hard to find. Suddenly, the axe is almost nowhere to be seen. The cross is like... I was only able to find 1 guaranteed cross drop in the whole game, but there's a whole lot more knives and holy waters and bags of 100 gold and all these torches. And the things that you might actually want, like meat or axes or crosses, are absent. Although I did use the axe a little bit in kind of a neat way in my normal mode run, so I'll see if I do the same thing here. Although, wait, can I even find an axe prior to the castle wall? Maybe. There might be an axe or a cross, like, somewhere in the proper Forest of Silence level, but because I'm taking the shortcut, all I got is nothing, actually. I have no sub-weapons. And I don't really have a choice. It's not like I could go through the main Forest of Silence anyway. Although, actually... I want to say that on my normal mode run, I got to the villa, which is the level with the cutscene that I want to get to on a certain timing. I want to say I got there early, but... So maybe I do have time, but no, I don't know. I don't think so. Oh, he summoned 4 skeletons. I never even noticed that he did this. Usually I feel like he only summons 2 and then he swings at you, but here he summoned 4. That's probably another hard mode change. Oh yeah, just to be clear, his like shockwave attack and his poison breath attack that he's going to do here in a second, these things don't one-shot you. It's only the club that does like 99% of your health and damage. And if he like charges into you while he's like electrified like that, it's just the club. Let's see if I was right. 1, 2... Oh, that wasn't fully charged. I don't know. Yeah, that's the attack that you don't want to get hit by. Honestly, I probably should have just like... Well, I don't know. No, I don't think so. Oh, he can destroy his own guy. I didn't notice that. He charged into the blue skeletons explode if they take any damage, and he just like charged into it and blew it up. So that was very nice of him to do. Yeah, I don't know. I think that maybe the level 3 knife can be good, and actually, because Carrie's combat is so like clunky and awkward, probably any sub-weapon is worth getting just to make things a little bit smoother for her. But I think one of the fish guys in level 1 dropped a knife, and I don't think my route has taken me naturally into any other... No, there was a torch back there that had a knife in it, but I just didn't bother. Rest in peace. I think I have a tendency towards, like... I can get pessimistic about things. Like, if the game tells me I can't find a cross anywhere and I really want a cross, like I can't find an axe, then I'm just sort of like, well, I guess I'm shit out of luck. Like, I don't really... And plus, you know what else is it's like an input problem, which is that it's not just that Carrie's combat is slow, it's that, like, you always have to be doing something. It's not like... If her attack just had a cooldown, like if you could press B to shoot off a fully charged projectile, then you'd have to wait to shoot off another one. Then, like, during that cooldown, you could be, like, throwing sub-weapons, but the fact that after you fire it, you want to, like, immediately begin charging up another one means you have to be holding down the B button now, too. And, like, where's my controller? I don't know. You could hold down the B button and press the sub-weapon button at the same time, I guess if you, like, tilted your thumb in the right way, but it would be pretty awkward. And it's much more... It'd be much easier if you could just, like, shoot off a projectile, then follow it up with a sub-weapon, which is something I do a couple times in my normal mode run, because I actually have an axe at this point, but I don't do that here, because I don't really know if it would make a difference. So, I don't know. I don't know how you would fix this whole, like, because the Carrie concept... Like, this is what her whole combat is, like, built around. And maybe they figured it would be too restrictive to just only let you fire off fully charged projectiles. Instead, you can, like, now you can charge them up to only do, like, as much damage as you need to do, but... I feel like it would take a long time to figure out how much damage you need to do and exactly how much you need to charge in every situation. There's an axe. Okay. Well, is that going to matter at all, though? Probably not. Because there's a cross that's going to come up at the beginning of level 4 that I know I'm going to get. So this might make fighting the Cerberuses at the start of level 4 easier. But other than that, I don't think it's going to make a difference. I guess I should mention, see, this is actually a boss where the fact that Carrie has this, like, charge up period isn't that big of a deal, because this boss is very, like, attack, wait, attack, wait, attack, wait anyway, so in the time that you're going to be spending charging up attacks, you're going to want to be sitting behind this barricade anyway. I also want to point out that on hard mode, I'm 80% sure these guys fire their fireballs faster. I think the fire breath comes out at the same interval, but I want to say they're firing more fireballs here in hard than they are in normal. Anyway, I should talk about the Cerberuses. The Cerberuses are, like, the big problem that Carrie has to deal with in C64, because in C64, her magical projectile travels so slowly that she can't hit the Cerberuses except with sub-weapons. Here, that's not quite the case, but it's still nice to have more ways of fighting them, because they're extra dangerous, and because they're still pretty fast and pretty dangerous, and because in Legacy of Darkness hard mode, not only are sub-weapons more scarce, but as I might have briefly mentioned before, healing items are more scarce, so you're much more often going to be in danger of actually dying from combat, which is something that essentially never happens in C64. Fuck. See, this was so irritating, because that metal grate continues to go down even when you interact with the lever. So what I wanted to do there was get the meat up on the barricade super fast, then quickly jump back down and pull the lever while that metal gate was coming down. So that way, like, I wouldn't have to wait for the gate at all, and I could, like, take full advantage of the time, this, like, cutscene time, but unfortunately I just was a little bit slow. Oh, I'm picking up the holy water. This is interesting. I wondered if I might try this. Yeah, so the Cerberuses are an enemy that tend to, like, charge right in front of your face, and the holy water drops holy water, or holy fire water, right in front of you. So I think my plan here is to try to actually use this to fight the Cerberuses, or at least to sort of, like, keep them off me enough that I can get off another charged up projectile shot. And I feel like it's probably not going to work very well, but we'll see what happens. The holy water is very finicky. Sometimes it seems like it does almost nothing, like it'll just, like, an enemy will get hit by it once, and then they'll just, like, wait for the fire to be gone, like they know it's there. And then sometimes it's, like, anomalously, it just, like, hits some kind of sweet spot in their movement patterns, and they just get hit, like, 4 or 5 times. And it does mega damage, so maybe there's like a skill component or some kind of finesse to the holy water that I just never I just never figured out. And as much as I like Legacy of Darkness hard mode conceptually over C64 hard mode, there are some things about it that I think are extremely annoying. This is another one, the fact that these guys shoot out, I think, more fireballs and fire them faster, because the nature of C64 slash Legacy of Darkness's targeting system, that is fucking ridiculous. I don't understand. I guess I wasn't facing him properly. What I wanted to do there was jump over to him and then throw the holy water on him, because I'm like, hey, I have this perfect tool for killing this turret. But because I didn't turn enough towards him, the game thought that I wanted to throw holy water onto the ledge across from me where nothing is, instead of onto the fire turret right fucking next to me. So that's a little bit annoying, but that also wasn't something that I practiced. That was something that I just decided to do in the spur of the moment there, and it just didn't work. The pitfalls of three-dimensional gameplay. If they see throwing holy water on a turret in 2D Castlevania games is much simpler. You just jump over to it, and then you press up and B, and then the holy water is just on the turret. But here, it's a little bit more complicated. This is another thing that's voiced in C64, but it's not voiced here. Oh, Dracula's motorcycle skeleton's going by. Off they go. Oh, there's actually a mistake in the C64 voice acting, because the text in C64 says all who oppose the Dark Lord will die, but the voice actor reads all who oppose the Dark Lord must die. Here, they just changed the text, but now the voice acting is gone, so there was no discrepancy to correct, so whatever. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, I was complaining about the sub-weapon availability. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like not having cool weapons that I had before, because it's like, I don't know. I mean, maybe you would think. Oh, I think that's another reason why I decided to do this, because I knew there was a holy water upgrade over here. Well, I guess we'll see how much of a difference it makes. I feel like this is probably gonna suck, but I've been wrong about that before. Okay, so I want to hit this guy, and then I want to be ready to... see, they just run right around it. I guess that's a timing problem. I guess I should be waiting until they're both, like, right in front of me. Oh god, now there's 3 of them. Okay, this is a real shit show. Okay, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. Alright, now I'm kind of... That was a little bit shaky, but that wasn't the disaster I thought it was going to be. Once I saw all 3 of them were alive and on me, I was really worried, because, like, usually you're supposed to have killed the first 2 before the 3rd one spawns, but that time, that's not what happened. This is great! That was great! Alright. Okay. Might as well. I'm planning on picking up the cross as soon as this guy up here dies, but might as well get the level 3 holy water for him. I'm probably not going to use it, because Carrie's magical projectiles are perfectly fine for dealing with the services when there's only one of them, but here... Okay. What time is it? 2 a.m. on the in-game clock? Yeah, I didn't have time to go through the Forest of Silence. Because the window that I'm looking for here is between 3 and 6 a.m. to go into the second room of the villa. And, getting here on 2 a.m., I still have to fight this vampire. It's probably going to be like 3-something by the time I'm done with him. I didn't have time to go through the Forest of Silence, unfortunately. So maybe there is a better sub-weapon hidden in there somewhere, but the point is moot. You know what? Maybe I should have held on to the holy water, because I think the holy water would be really good against this guy. But I know I want the cross for, I want the cross for the boss in the waterway, and that cross that the Cerberus drops is the only guaranteed cross that I know of in Legacy of Darkness hard mode. In normal mode, there's actually another cross in level 3 in the castle wall, but in hard mode, it's replaced with a pile of dust or something. It's replaced with something like not useful. I think it's like a knife. All right, 3:30, just in time. Not just in time, but a comfortable margin. This isn't voiced in C64. Very little is voiced in C64. Like I didn't want to talk over this. I don't know why. It's just something I do sometimes in these cutscenes. Even though there's no voice, it's just reading. I just kind of want to be quiet. But then as I'm trying to let this cutscene just kind of happen, the fucking motorcycle drives by outside. Whatever. So this villa has the castle archives in it. So this villa must be. I'm still trying to figure out the whole like villa castle relation thing, how this works exactly. So she walks in with the watering can, but then she teleports out with it. Why didn't she teleport in with the watering can? Riddle me that, huh? Anyway, most of the villa. Another thing I want the cross for also is something that's gonna is the I guess the mini boss in the villa. When you go into the hedge maze, you get chased around by some dogs and by a big dude with a chainsaw, and the cross is just very good at dealing with them. So holding on to I guess, well, although the dogs run right up to you, so holy water might be good at dealing with them, but then the guy with the chainsaw also runs right up to you, and I feel like I would not want to rely on the holy water to put him down that closely. I don't know. The cross just like feels safer. You know, she should say that she's a Fernandez. If Charlie Vincent is really the mightiest of all vampire hunters, he probably would have heard of the Fernandez family, right? Because Sypha Fernandez is a character in Dracula's Curse. Although they didn't call her Fernandez, they called her Velnumdes for some reason. Now he's going to hang out in here and do very important vampire hunter things. So here I learned from my mistakes in previous runs in dealing with those stained glass window guys, because if you stay at a distance, they throw their swords at you, and it's actually pretty hard to avoid getting hit by them. But if you stay up in their faces, then then they just kind of run at you and try to melee you, and you can keep on interrupting them. So that's why I was just kind of like staying up in that guy's face instead of instead of gaining any distance. And here, I think I'm what I want. Yeah, I'm kind of like wasting time because I want to go into the next room when it's daytime because there's going to be a vampire in there that I want to fight. Which is like a very minor thing, but it does make a difference. Vampires have less health in daytime. And I think I'm going to barely get there in time. Yes. I actually didn't have to wait like that because the clock keeps moving even when you open the door, but oh well. These are the kinds of things I find exciting. I like little min-maxing things like that, where you can just get these tiny little advantages if you just get to things on exactly the right timing. Well, you have also entered the Castle of Hell, buddy. I also like how I guess whatever happened in this room when he charged over to you was so violent that it demolished the table and all the chairs. I wonder if originally they wanted you to fight this guy with the table and the chairs still in the room, but found out that it was like too cramped or too awkward or something, so they're just like, he blew up the table in the cutscene. Damn, he's slow as fuck. Oh no, never mind. What am I talking about? Oh, well, where the fuck is he? Now I can't see what I'm doing. Okay. Oh, well, neither can he, apparently. He was just as confused as I was. I remember hoping there'd be a little bit more in the archives when I first learned that there were archives in this game, but Legacy of Darkness, the Cornell story has a little bit of has a little something in there. Excuse me. What's also nice about um, the dogs and the guy with the chainsaw that chases you through the hedge maze is that the dogs will die and then respawn. Like they don't die permanently, but every time they die, they have a chance to drop something that could be good. Like they could drop they actually could drop a cross. I want to say in one of the runs I've already posted, that's how I got like a level 2 cross in the first place. Was I found the guaranteed one off the Cerberus and then one of the dogs happened to drop it. You know, it would have made the runs more obnoxious, but in retrospect, I actually kind of wish that I had gone to the trouble of farming a little bit of money to unlock the Renan fight. Because at the end of the game, if you spend more than 30,000 gold at this guy's in-game shop, you fight him as a boss at the end of the game. And the boss fight's actually pretty cool, but you do have to farm money off of enemies, basically, to reach that 30,000 threshold. Which isn't, like, awful because there are a couple of enemies. I didn't really know this at the time, but there are a couple of enemies in the castle center that tend to drop 500 gold bags, and you can just kind of farm them for a bit to make it happen. Um, it would have been annoying, but it also would have been nice to actually showcase that fight instead of what I do in all my other videos, which is just talk about it and say that it exists without ever actually showing it. Yay, 100 gold in the statue. Can I even buy anything with this? Oh, I know what I want, yeah. All I want to buy right now are some anti-poison items, and then maybe a sun card if I don't have one. I shouldn't need to buy a sun card because there is a guaranteed one here in the villa, but I guess I'm gonna get one anyway, just in case. Because I need a sun card to get out of the waterway, and then it never hurts to have more of them, I guess. Yeah, I'm getting back up to full health here because this is where the chainsaw chase begins, and the chainsaw guy, hits you pretty hard on hard mode. It's not a one-shot, but I think I was worried that it might have been. There's no space after that comma. That's wrong. You're supposed to have spaces after commas. God damn it. I'm so mad about that. He's not safe at all. He's in the fucking death hedge maze. Did he also make the screen shake up and down, or is that something else? I guess I should explain that. I've done this in all the other videos, but I'll make this as brief as I can. I don't really know what's causing that. And maybe you hadn't even noticed before this, but I have. Where the game is like jittering up and down slightly almost all the time. You can't really see it if the camera's in motion, but when it's like standing still in a cutscene like this, it becomes really noticeable. And I don't really know what that is, to be honest. I might have to do with the high res, like pack that Legacy of Darkness can take advantage of. It's like an N64 thing, higher resolution. It might be because of because I had to crop out some overscan lines. There was like there's like some shit at the edge of the screen that like didn't make sense to be there, so I had to turn on a setting in the emulator to crop it out, and maybe that's causing it. I really don't know. And I didn't really even notice that it was happening for a long time, but now I do. Sorry if that's really annoying to you. I feel like those dogs seem like they're faster on hard mode. Because when I did the normal mode footage, I want to say I was able to jump over them like every single time, but here I'm really taking my time killing them, so that would suggest to me that there's a difference in hard mode. Or I was just kind of winging it in normal mode and like was hoping that everything would turn out okay. But here I'm a lot more scared because, for one thing, I'm worried about how much damage the chainsaw guy is going to do. And number two, I really want this run to be good, because every run that I do where I get past the level 1 boss is a run that I'm excited about, and oh my god. He's about to hit me. Unless I jump out of the way. No, oh my god. Wow, that was insane. That was not planned at all. I just was hoping that would happen. Right, I don't even know what I was trying to do. You'd think I would try to hop out of the way, but instead I perfectly juked him. That's something only Carrie could do. If Reinhardt was in that situation, he would have been too tall, and he would have gotten hit. Yeah, every run that gets past the level 1 boss is good. And this was a run where I no damaged the level 1 boss, which was extra cool. So I really, really wanted this run to work. Yeah, watch out. Bye. How's he gonna get off? How's he gonna get back across the lake? The boat that you took to get there got fucking exploded by a sea monster. It's cause they didn't establish. I think the idea. I don't know. It doesn't really matter, but I think that the geography is a little bit inconsistent. Oh my god, they're back. So, now, in Legacy of Darkness hard mode, you finally get to actually fight this guy as like a boss. You don't kill, but what's fucked up is that you don't, like, kill him permanently. Like, oh my god, that was insane. That was like a fucking combo attack. Like, I'm gonna leave and then come back into the hedge maze, and they're gonna be back again, which is really disappointing. But I think that might be... But if I just backtrack through the maze now, they would stay dead? I really don't know. They probably would. But I had just learned a different route to get back to the last part of the maze, and this is what I was used to. I was really hoping there would be gems in here. Because I'm thinking of now, I'm thinking about the waterway boss. Because the waterway boss is not as... The cross isn't as important to have for the waterway boss on Carrie as it is to have for the tunnels boss that you fight on Reinhardt, but it's still really good, because they both do a similar thing, which is they fight you, but then at a certain point in the fight, they'll also just, like, throw a bunch of tiny enemies out everywhere. The cross is really good at just cleaning up. And it's more important on Carrie actually be able to clear up all the tiny enemies, because you want to make sure that your projectile gets aimed at what you want it to hit, and the more shit there is cluttering up the arena, the bigger the danger is of the game just deciding that it wants you to hit something else. Did another one just spawn? I guess that's what that glass shattering sound effect would suggest. It's a little bit strange. I mean, I don't know, like, would it have been so hard to just, like, tell the game to remember that you had killed these guys already and not spawn them again no matter what? I guess it would be. Maybe they just didn't expect the player to take this, like, weird circuitous route back to the beginning of the maze. Also want to point out there are 2 knife drops from those guys. 2 sub-weapons dropped off of those enemies, and they were both knives. And then prior to that, one of them dropped an axe, so... If having a level 3 cross was really important to me, then I would like farm them, I guess, but it's not really that big of a deal. And I'm down to 22 gems already, which is a little bit concerning. But hey, I usually end these runs with way too many gems anyway, so maybe this will just encourage some efficient application. But the thing is that I kind of never don't want to be using crosses. Just because of the nature of Carrie's combat. Crosses are nice to have against this boss, they're nice against the waterway boss. They're nice against, like, every boss, pretty much. Oh shit. Like this 5 dots instead of 3? Or 4, okay. So this boss is basically the same as, like, the previous vampire fight, except he maybe has a little bit more health now. It's really phase 2 of this fight that's, like, an actual different experience. And I'm actually in a little bit of a crunch here, because the sun is going to go down in about an hour and 15 minutes in-game. So I would really like to kill both of these bosses before that happens. Like, the only reason that guy died as fast as he did is because it's daytime. And this next boss I want to die even faster. Which is why I say I want the cross here too. Because she's just way more annoying to fight. What the fuck happened there? I should not have turned away right when I was ready to fire off my attack. So eventually she's going to turn into mist. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, this is the part of the fight that I really don't like, because you just have to sit there and not do anything and wait. Well, you don't have to not do anything, you have to kill these bats too, but that's not really very fun. I think I really did not want to use the cross here. Yeah, it's a little bit frustrating to watch, but I think I was more concerned. Because the thing is that, like, the waterway boss is honestly way more dangerous than this one. This boss is more annoying, but she never really does that much damage, and the attack, everything that she does is pretty easy to anticipate and react to. There we go. The waterway boss is a little bit trickier, and unfortunately she dropped a gem, but I can't get it because I don't want to lose my cross. Did the fucking knife. and I think we're actually coming up on a break here, which is a result of fear. And I'll talk more about that after the break is over. And now that the break is over, it's time for me to explain. So, I'm going to be real clear about this. Whenever I talk about a break, at least in these N64 videos, I'm talking about a save state. I'm talking about a point where I make a save state, and if I die past that point, I go back and I restart. And the more time I spent with the N64 games, kind of the more and more I leaned into those. Like, every non-hard mode video is, I think, 2, and then the hard mode videos are 3, maybe. I don't quite recall. And it was like a combination of factors. It partially because hard mode is harder, but really the points where I was save stating were just like, well, with this run, I know I can tell you about what happened with this run. I just really didn't want to lose that really good early game, because the way that I normally do the save states when I do these N64 runs is I'll do just one save state before the Nitro run, and then that's it. But I got a little bit I got a little bit sick of this game, not of this game entirely, but like I think I just got paranoid. I really didn't want to just like lose that really good early game to like randomly like slipping off the edge of a platform into the death water in the waterway, and I was just like, I really want this footage. I really want this to be over. And that sounds really bad, but I just mean like I don't want all that work to go to waste, and I just kind of want to keep pushing, because the thing is that I was expecting over these past few months to really kind of barrel through these games, like the N64 games and the PS2 games, but stuff just kept coming up. I kept on not being able to work on these runs or do these commentaries either as a consequence. And so the schedule that I had in my head that I'd already revised once was like even further imperiled by this. And so I was just like, I just need this to be finished. Which, you know, on the one hand, it puts a little bit of a damper on the footage for me. I don't know how many people even care about that. Maybe people don't, maybe they do. But obviously I don't feel so bad about it that I didn't do it at all, right? And then in the Cornell hard mode footage is the one where I got really degenerate in that one. I think that one does have like 4 save states, or something insane like that. This one is 2, and then the Reinhardt hard one is 2, and then all the other ones are 1. So I'm and this is what's like the thing about save states, right, is that you might make the argument, oh Jesus Christ, I forgot that happened. You might say, well, you know, what difference does it make, right? Because like you know, like let's say I was to go like super overboard and make a save state for like every level, right? You might think like, oh well, what difference does it make? Because, you know, you're still demonstrating that you can beat all of the game's challenges. It's just, you know, you're just stringing them together in one thing, and that way if you fuck up on one particular challenge, you don't have to go back and do the challenges you've already completed again, right? So what's the difference? Well, the difference is there's several differences. One difference is that if you do that, like if you really abuse save states, then you don't really have to learn the parts of the game that you're splicing around properly, because all you have to do is just play them until you get one successful completion of that level, and then you'd never have to think about it again. What not save stating makes you do when there's like a more of a punishment for you fucked up the level than just you have to do the level again. If you fucked up the level, you have to go back and do a bunch of other levels again. What that does is that forces you to come up with strategies that are consistent, and that's really, really strong with the boss rush videos, because like if you were to save state, if you were just like to do one boss at a time and save state after every single one of them, you'd only have to get one good pattern, right? Or like get lucky once and then you're done, and you didn't really learn it. So not having save states and creating a situation where you're punished really harshly for fucking up really, really encourages you to be consistent. So that was the thing. That's the difference. The second difference is that not having save states creates an additional like psychological element to the run, because it makes a difference. If you're in the last level of a game and if you die, you're gonna lose, like 30 minutes, or if you die, you're gonna lose like 50 minutes. That makes a big difference mentally. Like that's so important. I can't overstate that. So it does make a very big difference, and it's why I really, even with these games, which are like 2 hours long and where like the tiniest little thing can kill you, I really did want to be disciplined about only doing the one for the Nitro run. But over time, I just kind of got tired, and I didn't stick to that the way that I should have. And if all you're doing is just watching these videos for fun, then it doesn't matter to you, of course. The footage still looks fine, but it's important to me, and it's important to me that I be transparent about that. If I wanted to be, I could put segmented in the title of the videos, but the reason that I don't do that is because, for one, the videos are already pretty long. The video titles are already pretty long, rather, and also, that was a cool little dodge. I think I already talked about this boss fight in the normal mode run. Basically, this part where she starts shooting her petrification glare is like the really hard part, because instead of just like dodging, you have to be behind her basically when she does that. All the other attacks are just a matter of like just basic horizontal dodging and sliding, or jumping over her tail swipes. And I really don't want to get hit by this, number one, because it makes it way harder to dodge those tail swipes, and number two, because you have to like wiggle the control stick around to break free, which is my least favorite things in these games, because I'm really worried about like control stick wear. So really don't want to do that. Anyway, yeah, and also because like I feel like segmented could mean a lot of different things, and people might think if the video just says segmented that it is like every level is its own segment, and they might expect a higher level of play as a result. So I'd prefer to just come clean in the description instead, and sort of be able to give more of a detailed explanation. So that's my explanation. This fight is going, like, it's going badly and also not badly at the same time. It's going badly because I keep getting hit by shit that I don't want to get hit by, but then I also keep dodging things that I feel like should hit me. Like, some of those tail swipes have just been, like, miracle dodges. But I also haven't been very good at dealing with her petrification beam or the arrows. It's really just, like, a positioning issue, because for most of her attacks, you want to be far away from her. But then when she starts revving up the petrification thing, you really want to be as close to her as possible so you can just get right behind her. So it's tricky. It's tricky, but that's what makes it an interesting boss fight. I'd say the waterway tunnels bosses are two of the biggest improvements in Legacy of Darkness. And it was nice of them to make like concrete changes like this to the Carrie and Reinhardt routes instead of just replicating the C64 levels with no changes. And what's extra cool is that I actually didn't know these bosses existed when I played Legacy of Darkness. Like when I was going through the Henry mode to unlock all this shit. Because that's how you unlock hard mode, that's how you unlock Carrie and Reinhardt, is by beating the Henry mode. And Henry mode, like, goes through the tunnels and goes through the waterway. And so, like, I think it was, like, the tunnels that I went through, and then, like, all of a sudden at the end of the tunnels, there's this, like, spider boss that I didn't even know existed. Which is pretty cool. And that's another reason why I try not to, like, do that much research about these games. Like, I don't... Even when I'm in the process of doing, like no-death runs, and it would probably be really helpful to go watch other videos of other people doing this, I kind of don't do it because it's satisfying to like figure stuff out myself and discover things myself. Unless, again, I've said this before too, unless I'm totally stumped or unless I'm just really struggling with something and I need some kind of guidance, or I need to know about some kind of trick. Like when I made there was actually a video that I made a long time ago. It was a Castlevania 3 grant only no death run, and that says segmented in the title because that actually was really heavily segmented. That what literally was every level was done segment, except for the last one where I I decided that I wasn't gonna reload any save states, and so in the last level I just die over and over again. But I kept it all in because the ways that I die in that video are pretty funny. So I guess it's not actually deathless. So that video is just kind of a one big shit show, but nobody watches the old videos anyway because they all have like garbage ass thumbnails. The only thumbnails I ever went back and like fixed or updated were the Dracula X videos. I think half of my Castlevania 3 thumbnails are good and I think half of them are bad. But I'm talking about thumbnails. Yeah, that's why the cross is good. Even if it's just level 1, even if I can't really upgrade it, it's just like, what the fuck? Look at these guys doing their shit. Yeah, there's that money these guys drop. Oh, and I learned, actually, I said in my previous Carrie video, or no, I think I said this in the C64 Carrie video, that I talked a lot about, like, combat that I wanted to try to avoid on Carrie. But I saw a comment, somebody said that you actually can't get out of that room with the 3 vampires unless you kill them. So there's a feature in the castle center that I thought was exclusive to one room where, like, you can't get out until you kill everything. But apparently that's something that they pull more than once, which is, I suppose, understandable, because you wouldn't want players to just not engage with half of the stuff you designed, but it's also, honestly, all that would, yeah, this is the room where I first learned that you have to kill things to get out. And really all it needed was I think a clearer visual indicator for it to not really annoy me, or for the castle center to be less backtracky, because the issue with this room in particular is that you have to kill like 6 of these guys every single time you come back into this room, and you have to backtrack through this room, like, you have to go through this room 1, 2, 3, 4 times, because you have to get in to get the key to the torture chamber, leave to go down to the torture chamber to get the Mandragora, come back up here to use the Mandragora on a hole in the wall, and then come back out again to get to the rest of the castle center. So there's absolutely no way to not do this room at least 4 times, as far as I can tell. Unless there's like a secret shortcut that I don't know about, but I don't think so. This is what's frustrating about Legacy of Darkness, because it's like for everything they fixed, they left something in that I think really should have been removed. Also, seeing some different alternate costumes wouldn't have been unwelcome either. But I think, as I've already said, it's kind of incredible that this game even exists in the first place, so whatever. I don't know if I've explained like the backstory of Legacy of Darkness. I think I did in my very first video, but I kind of left it alone after that. I'll say this, I'll go over this briefly, just because I never know like what people... I guess people might just click on whatever, so it's not necessarily a given that whoever watches this video will have seen any of my other videos. Basically, Castlevania 64 came out in early 1999. Basically an unfinished game. And then, after release, Konami Computer Entertainment Kobe, KKEC, basically spent the rest of 1999 continuing to work on it, to basically finish it. and then they released Legacy of Darkness in late '99 as basically like, okay, this is like what we actually meant to make. But what's really staggering is the extent of the missing, like what they had planned in C64 and what they had to cut, and even stuff in Legacy of Darkness that didn't ultimately make it in. Like, see, Castlevania 64, there were 4 playable characters planned. They only managed to fit in 2, Carrie and Reinhardt. One of them, Cornell, of course, comes back in this game. The other one, called Caller, is kind of vanishes, basically is not present even in Legacy of Darkness. Henry is like conceptually the same because he has a gun, and Caller had a gun, but Henry mode is like not, is kind of like its own weird thing that's not presumably what they had envisioned for the Caller experience in C64. There was also a Camilla boss that was supposed to appear that looked not the Camilla Fernandez fight that is in the finished game. It was a different thing. I saw some early render of it back when I think the game was at one point they were considering the name, I want to say Dracula 64 or Dracula 3D, which is pretty funny. But they just went with Castlevania. But everybody calls it Castlevania 64. Another thing that didn't make it into the final game were there were 2 extra sub-weapons. Or was it 3? I think there were 3. I just looked all this up the other day. I really should have done this earlier. There were 3 sub-weapons that were planned that didn't make it in. There was garlic, wooden stake, and a rose. And the wooden stake was sort of close range, high damage. The rose, I think, was basically the same thing. And then the garlic, I don't recall what its properties were supposed to be. The only reason we know this is because descriptions of the wooden stake and the rose were still in the game files, as were some graphics associated with them. I finally looked up like Castlevania 64 on the cutting room floor, which if you don't know what the cutting room floor is, it's a really interesting website. It's basically a dedicated archive of stuff in video games that was planned or that was cut from the final product, but that can still sort of be found somewhere in the game files. It's a fucking great website. Most Castlevania games don't have that much unfinished stuff associated with them, but Castlevania 64 is the big exception. Oh, they're faster now because it's nighttime. Alright. I was listening back to... I finally listened back to some of my older Castlevania 64 commentary videos, and I think a lot of the stuff I said was wrong. Like, I don't actually know if nighttime buffs boss health, which is something I said a couple times in the older commentaries. I also don't know... it just kind of seemed that way to me, and I think this is how misinformation spreads in the first place, right? Somebody plays the game and just kind of like misunderstands or misapprehends something that happens in it, and then they draw a conclusion, and then the conclusion turns out to be wrong. So I guess I was just confident enough that I knew the game well enough to make that claim, but I think that was wrong. Did that get picked up? What was that? I think that did get picked up a little bit. It sounded like a muffled, like, explosion or something, but I think it was just a truck dumping something. I don't know what it was. I hear fucking weird ass noises all the time. Also, another thing that I want to mention is that I finally watched back the YouTube videos, because something that's in all of this Legacy of Darkness footage is there's this funny, like, jittering up and down, which I still don't know what causes it. I don't know if it's overscan, cropping, or whatever, but it's there. But I finally watched the YouTube like re-encoding of my footage, and it doesn't seem like it's as noticeable in the footage that I've watched. This is actually really fucked up because what like that I do this because what I really should do is I should just watch my videos all the way through before I post them. Um, like, but I don't know, I just don't do that. Instead, basically what I do is I make sure that the sound is synced up if it's a commentary video. I'll make sure that like my voice is coming in when it's supposed to, and then I'll fuck with the volume levels, which I actually fucked up in my first Legacy of Darkness video. I forgot to the narrator in that video is too quiet because I remember to turn myself down and to mute my audio, but I forgot to turn him up, so that's unfortunate, but it's too late now. Where are you going? Okay, well, now they're going nowhere. Most of my concerns when I do editing after the fact is with audio and audio levels, and I just kind of assume that everything else will work the way it's supposed to and will look the way it's supposed to. So I'm glad that it's less noticeable on the YouTube playback, but it really shouldn't be there at all. I'm surprised that zombie was still alive. I was expecting him to get killed by the first magical shot. It's always interesting seeing what was planned and what was... I mean, because it's insane how ambitious they were with this game. But I guess that's the case in a lot of games, right? Like, I guess every game starts off with having more things planned and then ultimately makes it into the final product. Because you wouldn't wanna underplan, right? I also want to say they wanted to have like a fighting game mode in the game too, which is insane. I don't even know how that would work, especially if there's only going to be like 4 playable characters, unless they were going to like program a whole other 2D fighting game into it, but that's like fucking crazy. Video games are hard to make, you know? People talk a lot about games being rushed. I read an interesting thing the other day, or no, somebody told me about this. They were talking about a Japanese website that was dedicated to like reviews of companies from people who worked there. And they were talking about what people who worked there said about Game Freak, which I assume everybody knows this, but just in case you don't, that's the Pokemon guys. And they just describe this level of like total apathy with what is going on with the games, and like nobody really has any interest in any particular innovations, which some of the people on the website were like frustrated with that, but other people liked it because it meant they didn't have to work that hard. But then by contrast, people who worked directly for Nintendo all just gave like glowing praise of the company. And all these reviews are anonymous, of course, so it's not like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much of it is fake, how much of it is real. But everybody who worked on Nintendo games was like really, really happy with the experience. People who worked on third-party developers that work with Nintendo, like Intelligent Systems or Game Freak, had complaints. And I was thinking about this, and I said, you know, like, a new Pokemon game comes out, like, all the fucking time. Like, you have the mainline games, but then God forbid I talk over that, right? You have the mainline games, then you have all like the weird um, spin-offs. By the way, my window's not even open. This is just, it's not my fault. You have like the spin-off games. Then I was thinking about the schedule for like mainline Nintendo releases, right? Jesus fucking Christ. There's really like a block over and it still carries that loudly. Anyway, yeah, release schedule and big Nintendo property games like Mario and Zelda games is what I'm talking about. They come out at a pretty leisurely pace. It's not like they're making a new. I mean, obviously you have like new Super Mario Brothers, whatever, but like real big 3D Mario games. It's not like they're trying to crank them out like every 2 years or something. Odyssey. I mean, what? Odyssey between Odyssey and Mario Galaxy 2. Mario Galaxy 2 was what, like 2010, maybe, and then Odyssey was like how many, like many years later, and now again like Tears of the Kingdom, which just came out. I mean, Breath of the Wild came out like what, 7 years ago, maybe more. So that's interesting to me because that shows that that somebody out there, maybe it's Miyamoto, maybe it's other people in the company who are not Miyamoto, don't seem to have a problem with letting these games take a lot of time in their development, which goes back to what I was saying before about this game and about how like this game is unfinished, and the fact that they had so much planned compared to how much they actually got finished indicates to me that apparently I think video games just take way longer to think, but take way longer to make than you could ever imagine. That's the impression that I get, and that may especially have been the case for the N64, because I don't actually know what year the N64 came out, or if how much experience these guys had developing for it. I really don't know, but anyway, video games take a long time, which is why Nintendo doesn't give a shit, or why Game Freak doesn't give a shit about cranking out a new Pokemon generation every like however many years, because number one, there's not really that much to change, and number two, people will just buy it anyway. But with Mario and Zelda, somebody somewhere in the company is holding them to a higher standard, which I approve of, even though I'll probably never play Breath of the Wild in my entire life. I don't know. I shouldn't say never. Never is a long time. But and that's kind of what Legacy of Darkness is a little bit of a microcosm of. It's just like, because I'll say this, like I was originally I had a lot of strong praise for Castlevania 64 when I first played it, but Legacy of Darkness has kind of like ruined that game for me. There are still some things that I maintain C64 does better than Legacy of Darkness, but Legacy of Darkness is just such a better game in every conceivable metric. Even the changes they made in hard mode, like they made the Nitro run harder in hard mode, which you guys are gonna see coming up pretty soon. But like, again, they basically just created new challenges in hard mode. They didn't do what C64 hard mode did, which was just give every enemy more health. Most obnoxious shit in the world. Would you look at that? And the stain is gone. Now it's gone. Just an extra 9 months, and they were able to make... They were able to do a lot with that time that they had. Oh, come on. That was like a fucking YouTube poop or something. That was like I was just looping through the same stuff over and over again. The exact same camera with the exact same animation. I guess I haven't explained this in a long time. That angel... Fuck, I did it again. That's muscle memory. C64 defaults the camera view to a different angle when you leave that area. So I was used to moving the control stick in a certain direction after that point, but that was wrong. Legacy of Darkness was much more disciplined about making sure that the camera is as close to behind the player as possible at all times. Unless you swap into battle view, in which case it tries to center itself around enemies. So, Castlevania 64's camera is usually just kind of in like a fixed point in each room, and you can swap to action view and battle view in Castlevania 64, but they don't seem to work very well, I guess. I don't know exactly what time frame I was expecting to like finish the N64 games, but it ended up taking me like over a month, which is partially my fault because I insisted on uploading 2 Reinhardt runs and 2 Carrie runs, and then 2 Cornell runs, and then 2 more Reinhardt and Carrie runs in Legacy of Darkness. So you make your bed, you sleep in it. But even so, a lot of the reason why it took so long was just kind of factors outside of my control. And I've got some other stuff that I cooked up in the meantime, which I'm not going to talk too much about because I want it to be kind of a surprise, but you guys will see what I mean eventually. What a useless statement. I should clarify, like, I don't have any animosity towards new games. I think I said in one of my Portrait of Ruin videos, like, I said something like no game made after 2010 is worth playing, and I don't really mean that when I say it. It's just kind of like I think I'm just more interested. I mean, part of it is just like a cost thing. I don't want to buy a Nintendo Switch. I don't want to buy a whatever. I don't want to spend however much like big bucks on like AAA games. They're just not that interesting to me. Older games are more interesting to me because I feel like every game series is like every game series is like a story of development and of experimentation and of progression of ideas, and I would prefer to get the whole story. You know what I mean? Like, I'd want to understand, and that was what prompted this whole Castlevania thing in the first place, is I originally was just interested in playing Symphony of the Night, but I thought to myself, you know, I might not fully appreciate Symphony of the Night or like understand Symphony of the Night if I don't at least have a working knowledge of what came before it, because I knew that it was a departure from previous entries in the series. I didn't quite understand at the time to what extent it was a departure, but I knew that it was one. So it was like, why not do that? And that ended up being one of the best decisions I've ever made. It's like history, you know? Because the thing about history is like you could be really interested in like one particular period of history, right? Or like one particular like a war or a battle or a particular ruler's tenure, but history is impossible to understand unless you go basically as far back as you possibly can. Like if you just every single oh, this is another one. Oh, whatever. I knew this was gonna happen. I knew I was gonna save for the Nitro run. It was inevitable. Um, like every event you see in history always has like stuff coming before it that informs and precipitates it. And that's actually why I feel a little bit. I mean, I don't. I'm not um, hard like shackled to release order, obviously, because I'm doing these 3D games out of release order. But that was a different issue. That was more of a gameplay consideration because I wanted to do all the 2D games while I was used to playing 2D games, and then go do 3D from there. Slightly misguided because I think Lament of Innocence plays. Well, I don't think I know. Lament of Innocence plays very differently from these games, but I don't want to go into it any more than that. But generally speaking, I would prefer. I also went out of release order with because I played Rondo, then I went right to Dracula X, then I went to Bloodlines, even though Bloodlines was 94 and Dracula X was 95, I think. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, this is the thing in the Nitro run they made harder. They put this guy here, and now you have to like actually try to not get hit by him while you navigate across this last bridge. Oh, but they got rid of the other two. Interesting. I guess that was considerate of them to do. How am I only just now noticing that? I guess I forgot. Okay, this is the part that the Nitro run on hard mode is like really annoying regarding. And it's only really a problem on Carrie because Reinhardt is tall enough that he can get in range of these turrets and throw a sub-weapon at them without them ever activating, but Carrie has to get close enough to them that she can get an angle to shoot her magical projectile at them. And by getting that close, she triggers their attack. And since they're summoning like 4 fireballs, and because the magical projectile will always prefer to target whatever's closer, that being the fireballs, you have to like dip in with a fully charged projectile ready to go, and then fire it off before they shoot anything, then back up again. And I was really hoping this guy would die in those 2 shots, so now I'm kind of nervous, because now I might not be able to get another shot off at him until I'm close enough to trigger his attack, which is not a position you really want to be in. What's really insane to contemplate is that, hypothetically speaking, you could get to that part of the Nitro run on Reinhardt with no sub-weapon. And I don't know how the fuck they would expect you to do this part with 3 hard mode turrets shooting at you, which means they fire faster and they fire 4 times. 3 hard mode turrets shooting at you while you're like stuck in a tiny box and you can't move and you can't jump. Maybe when you're in between the gears on Reinhardt, you're like close enough to whip them. But even so, at that point, you have to like dodge their shots to even get that close. And while you're attacking one of them, the other 2 are just going to be raining down hell on you. So that's kind of insane. And obviously, if you get hit once, you die because it's the Nitro run. So I think that's a little bit much. Speaking of a little bit much, it's a good thing that when you come in here, they start off just driving into the wall, or else it would be literally impossible to get past that point. Actually, one Castlevania game that had some cut content that I just remembered, Rondo of Blood actually has a cut boss. Did I did I go AFK during this? Maybe I did. Maybe I was all tabbed. Rondo of Blood has a cut boss actually. You can find it. Somebody found like pieces of its sprite, and kind of like put it together, and it's really cool looking. It's like a big green monster thing. I don't know what it was originally intended to be. Well, a boss fight somewhere, but I don't know where in the game it would be. Maybe at the end of 5 alternate, because 5 alternate in Rondo is a weird ass level that has, it doesn't have any boss at the end because I think it's just supposed to be like a series of challenge rooms. Or maybe they wanted to put a boss at the end of it and they just never got the chance to finish it. Who knows? Not me. I don't know anything. I don't even know. I don't even know which enemies get their health buffed by nighttime and which ones don't. There's actually they do have like there's a render of Collar from C64 exists, which you might want to check out if you're interested. Because Henry in Legacy of Darkness is just Reinhardt with a bucket on his head, but Collar, as he was originally planned in C64, is like this big, like scary-looking motherfucker with like a wide-brimmed hat on. It's this he's kind of fucked up looking, which makes you really curious to know what they were planning to do, like what his backstory was planned on being. Collar's model was actually repurposed into the Frankenstein monster model in the hedge maze. And there's an old picture from I think the European instruction book, which shows the Frankenstein monster. They call it the Gardener, but it looks like it's the Collar model, the original Collar model with the hat and everything. But he's got like a chainsaw on his arm. Maybe they decided to not just like make the model one-to-one the Frankenstein, because I should explain what I just said. Maybe they decided to actually change the model to like a different one because maybe they knew at that point in development that they were going to make a Legacy of Darkness, and maybe they thought they would have time to implement Collar too. I think it would be pretty cool to see, honestly. Like, I haven't really explored the world of Castlevania ROM hacks very much. Oh, this is so cool. Yeah, this is something you can do with this guy on hard mode. He's trying to get a certain distance away from you, but if you stay at this distance from him, you can catch him in like that loop where he'll just keep running around in circles. I totally forgot you could do this. But you can just kind of keep him there because he can't get to... He's trying to get to a certain place relative to you, but if you stay too close to him, he can never get there, so he just keeps running forever. Yeah, I think that's only a hard mode thing, and I think that's only a Legacy of Darkness thing, because I never saw that happen in C64. It's because in Legacy of Darkness hard mode, they changed his behavior. They gave him an extra little, like, evasive charge around that he does between attacks. So I think that must be what that is. I don't know how you trigger that deliberately. I think it was just something that, like, it was just something I'd accidentally catch him in every once in a while during attempts. It's possible you can do that with even, like, the regular movements in normal mode, but I don't know. Yeah, like I was saying, I haven't really gotten into the world of Castlevania ROM hacks very much, even though I understand there are quite a lot of them, because... I don't know. The games are enough, in my opinion. And also the thing about ROM hacks is that they tend to be like really fucking hard. Because they're made for like enthusiasts, you know? Like people who really love the game, so they're kind of like a notch above even like the whatever the highest difficulty level for that particular game would be. But for a game like this, where it's like, you know... I don't want to say there's only so hard you can make it, because obviously if you were a total asshole, you could make some kind of horrible Super Mario Sunshine secret level-esque like platforming gauntlet and tell the player to run through it, but I don't think anybody would be that big of an asshole. I would just kind of be interested in a ROM hack that lets you play through the game as it is, but as Collar. I think that'd be pretty cool. I want to say Actrice is at like a different angle in Legacy of Darkness than she is in C64. I want to say in C64 you can actually see her face during that last line, but then in Legacy of Darkness she her hat is angled downwards and you can't see her eyes. I don't know why they would decide to do that, but that's what they decided to do. Anyway, so what I tried to do with this fight that I hadn't done before is I tried to dip in and trigger her freeze attack more than I had done in the past, because I can kind of dodge the blue projectiles, but when she fires the blue projectiles that home in on you, then follows them up with the orange projectiles, which will like target you at set intervals. I almost always get hit because I just run out of places to run, and also she's zooming around, which fucks up the camera, which also fucks up my movement patterns. Sometimes even when I'm mid-jump, because you have to keep jumping if you want to dodge those blue-silver projectiles. What I was trying to do here was trigger her freeze attacks, that way I only had to deal with one set of projectiles at once. Somebody informed me, and I wondered if this was the case, that you can actually destroy those projectiles before they get to you, but I still don't really understand how you would do that. Because they move so fucking fast, and they start off, like, separate. I don't know. Well, the thing that was suggested to me was meleeing them with Carrie's like basic melee attack, but that seems like the timing on that would be pretty tight. I prefer something a little bit more consistent. Maybe the holy water could do it. Maybe if you like throw holy water, because the holy water leaves fire on the ground, but prior to that it creates like a big like cone of damage in front of you, so maybe that can clear them out. And the holy water is also not bad on this fight generally, because she stands still for long periods, for moderate periods of time, which just gives you a chance to actually rack up holy water damage. But I don't know. I just don't know. I never experimented enough to find out. And anyway, I'm sure I want the cross for the next level coming up, regardless. Because the boss of the Tower of Science, which is the level coming up next, really benefits from cross usage. I could not... The holy water might have some niche use on it, but I feel like the cross would be better. And I'll explain why I'm not sure about that when we get there. And then I think the Tower of Sorcery, I probably want the cross too. And I think I'm hesitating. Yep, this is another break. Yeah, oh well, it's just how it is. Oh well, you can't put the horse back in the barn, as they say. Anyway, late game, Legacy of Darkness, Carrie hard mode. More or less the same. It's definitely the Tower of Science on hard mode in particular is definitely a bigger issue for Cornell than it is for Carrie. They have a few of the same pitfalls apply, like the blocks back there coming out of the hole in the wall. In hard mode, they changed up the pattern kind of specifically to fuck with you, where in normal mode it goes 3 blocks and there's a pause long enough to jump through, but in hard mode, for the first 2 anyway, not for that one, they'll do a thing where 3 blocks will come out, and then if you jump through what was the safe zone before, then you'll get hit by a 4th one. But that's the last time that they do this. All these other ones are normal. No, the differences with hard mode are mostly in a segment coming up later, and then I guess maybe the boss has more health, although I can't really tell. I meant to look this up. I forgot to. Sorry. I think part of my issue with the new Tower of Science is that Well, actually, no, that's not so much the case, because this part is pretty much the same as the regular Tower of Science. I guess my issues are more with the new Tower of Sorcery, which is going to come up next after this. Yeah, that conveyor belt doesn't swap directions until you're actually standing on it, which is pretty scary. But everything else is basically the same. That turret back there was shooting out little glowing orb projectiles instead of bullets, which I guess makes more sense because it's hard to visually represent bullets. Yeah, this is the level that really makes a lot more sense if you consider that the game was originally supposed to take place in like 1930 something, because the way that it plays out now is that it's still the 1850s, but they say Dracula just has like evil, dark technology, which is fine. You know, no problems with that, but it does kind of stretch. It's a little bit of a stretch. Yeah, this is what I really want the cross for. This is one of the two things I really want the cross for in the Tower of Science. Wow, that took 4 shots. See, that's the consequence of the cross's scarcity, because. And that's also something that I'm not sure if the axe could do. So, like, maybe getting the axe instead of the cross would work, maybe not. This is the part that's the most different on hard mode, because these barriers that serve as natural, like, resting points in normal mode instead just get immediately destroyed. Unfortunately, that was a first try run through the bullet gauntlet, so good for me for getting that. That only really worked because Carrie is so short that if she slides, she'll go under both the top and the bottom tier of bullets, which is what Cornell cannot do, which is why that particular section is so much of a problem for Cornell, but not for Carrie. I don't think there's any other differences in the Tower of Science than that in terms of like the hazards. Like I thought for a second maybe these lasers are shooting faster, but maybe not. I don't know. I know these lasers coming up are definitely going faster. But I don't know if the other ones are too. Do I get hit here? Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe I think they are shooting a little faster. It doesn't really matter though. Because when you're hanging off a ledge, I wonder if they're... Because I feel like while I was hanging off that ledge, that laser turret over to my left should have hit me, but for some reason it didn't. I'm glad that it didn't, because I think that would be a little bit fucked up to like punish you that hard for like not perfectly landing on the platform and instead just grabbing a ledge. Maybe they're programmed to just not shoot at you if you're on a ledge. I don't know. It's interesting that those hunchbacks are the only enemy in Legacy of Darkness that's like new and exclusive to Legacy of Darkness. The only like regular enemy, I mean. Unless there's something I'm forgetting. No, I don't think so. Maybe they already had that like mostly done or something. I know that I saw this on the cutting room floor. There was like a 3-headed wolf enemy that was originally supposed to be in the game, but that ultimately ended up getting cut. Who knows why these things happen. Anyway, so yeah, this is the other part that I really want the cross for, because the cross has a nice habit of, after it hits the crystal, it'll go around and destroy turrets, just sort of on its own, coincidentally. Yeah, see, that one like was going through so many other targets that by the time it got back to me, I was ready to throw a second one. And that's something that the axe definitely wouldn't do. And it's not like... It's not necessarily mandatory either way, but it's really nice to just be able to be able to just the fewer things you have shooting at you while you're standing here trying to hit this central crystal, the better. So I'm going out of my way to destroy the 2 closest turrets, but then the cross helps deal with the farther turrets that, even though they're farther away, can still hit you. So And here I think I'm gonna... Okay, I'm gonna go to the trouble of picking up all these crystals. I think for the Actrice fight at the end of the Tower of Sorcery, because I don't think I use the cross very much at all in the Tower of Sorcery itself. I think this is mostly for Actrice and eventually, I guess, for Phase 3 of Dracula, because hard mode Legacy of Darkness is stingy with sub-weapons, it's very stingy with weapon upgrades, and it's also stingier with gems than normal mode is. Maybe I also want to... Well, apparently not, if I'm okay with just standing here doing this. This is the kind of thing I usually wouldn't try to do, just like outranging these guys and hitting them with the projectile, because... But you can do it in Legacy of Darkness because the projectile is faster. If you tried to do this in C64, then by the time the projectile got to them, they would have already been like, back in their little puddle form. But here you can actually kind of hit them. Yeah, like that, right there. It missed because the guy ducked down. In C64, that's what happens all the fucking time. Yeah, a problem that I have with the new Tower of Sorcery is that with I would say one exception, like it's easier than the old Tower of Sorcery, but the solution, the way that it's easier, like the solution to a lot of the problems involves more waiting. So it's less dangerous, but it's like slower, which is like not the worst thing in the world. But the thing about the old Tower of Sorcery is that I maintain the old Tower of Sorcery, as hard as it is, there was really only one jump in the old Tower of Sorcery that I think was too close or too like too inconsistent. Whereas in the new Tower of Sorcery, you just have to like spend a lot more time waiting for platforms like this, and then also there's a part towards the very end that I really don't like. And also, the colors look way less vibrant for some reason. I'm very glad that worked. It wouldn't have necessarily been the end of the world if I had to actually like close distance with that turret to kill it, but everything that I can kill in this level without getting too close to it is something I'm in favor of. Because Carrie, I'm almost certain Carrie takes more knockback from these things than like Cornell would, so she's in extra danger of getting knocked into the empty insta-death pits than he is. And here yeah. Oh, interesting. Did I mean to do that? I guess I must have, because I wouldn't have picked it up by accident. Interesting. I think maybe this is also like an Actrice fight thing. Because my plan at this point was to play the Actrice fight a little bit differently, a little bit more like efficiently than I'd done before. This is the part I really don't like, because you have to wait for a very specific timing with the two disappearing platforms to make sure that you get to the second platform with maximum time. Because if you don't do that, then you'll get to this part on like a cycle where you can't jump on the smaller platforms. I actually could have jumped earlier, but I didn't, because you never want to, I think I've done this a couple times before just because I had to, but you'd never want to jump on those things while they're going away from you, because it's very, very easy for them to just for you to like not catch up with them when they're going away from you. But if they're coming towards you, then the odds are much better of you catching the ledge and getting on it safely. This is another part that I don't like, because the timing for destroying that last turret without getting hit by it is like very specific. Let's see what happens here. Because you jump, you grab the ledge, turret is triggered, and like that, what just happened there, like you have to do that. Because like basically what happened there was I pulled myself up off of the ledge, and visually, like, the laser hit me. But because, I guess, of the way ledge pulling works, I must have had, like, iframes or something. But the thing is that I couldn't have waited any longer, because then I would have probably pulled myself up into a laser shot, and then I couldn't have done it any faster. So you have to, like, use like ledge iframes to not get hit by the laser, which is pretty fucking ridiculous. And I remember distinctly dying there because I like waited for the shot to hit, then I pulled myself up. But like while I was pulling myself up, I was charging up its next shot, and then as soon as I was like fully on the platform, it shot again and hit me, and I got knocked off and I died. Like I remember that really distinctly. So I don't know. Maybe I don't even think I had time to like jump over it or something. I don't know. So that part I think is also pretty stupid because you should never be in a position where the correct solution is to like do something where it looks like you should have gotten hit by something. I think that's pretty dumb. I really wanted like I think I was hoping I remember this now. I was hoping there'd be an axe in one of those torches. Because I remember always getting to the room of clocks and like thinking there was nothing useful in there, which would have which at the time that I used to play this game, like I would use the cross and nothing else. So I think I was hoping there'd be an axe somewhere in there, because that would have an axe in previous playthroughs would have registered in my mind as useless. But I was wrong. There's nothing there but some gems and some money. Yeah, I definitely picked up the axe for the Actrees fight. I wanted the cross for the Tower of Science Crystal turret boss, um, but I wanted the axe for Actrees. I probably would have accepted holy water too, but there wasn't holy water in the Tower of Sorcery. Or if there was, I couldn't find any. And this is kind of like the tragedy of a lot of these games that I played, is that like I'll figure something out in like the very last recording that I do, or I'll figure something out as I'm watching the footage back after I already finished it. So, oh well, oh well. So my plan here is what I did in the past is I would basically just like jump in a circle and just spam fully charged shots at her, which like sometimes worked and then sometimes didn't. Here my plan is a little bit more focused, where my plan is to actually try to break holes in her defenses, and then move in, and then when I have an opening, hit her with a sub-weapon. Exactly like that. And this is better because it feels a little bit more like a real boss fight rather than like a weird like RNG thing, and also because me dipping in and following up a fully charged shot with a sub-weapon means that I don't end up in the situation that I ended up in a lot with my previous attempts, which was that every time I was ready to launch a fully charged projectile at her, she'd basically intercept it with one of hers. Which has already happened several times here, but which was just happening non-stop in the other footage. I do still am going to do the jump around in a circle thing where she summons that blue tornado, because that thing, you have to do that to dodge it, pretty much. God damn, she is... I think this is a hard mode thing. I feel like she's not this dangerous, usually. And like doing like a figure eight like this, or like dipping in and then pulling back, it's not really any different from just running in a circle in terms of dodging the crystals that she summons. Another thing that I completely didn't mention in my last Actrees fight footage, which you might see here, depending on what happens, is that she actually has an extra attack in hard mode, which didn't exist before. Where she'll like summon a bunch of crystals and then create like a laser beam that shoots between them all. But it's not really a very effective attack, because most of the time you can just like she'll just do it in like a section of the arena that you don't have to be in. Like she'll basically make one particular part of this roof, like, goddamn. See, that's why jumping around in the circle is good, like generally speaking, because it just makes it a lot easier to dodge that attack. But I don't know. This feels a little bit more like a real fight. Goddamn. And that's the thing, she's so fast at replacing her shields that, like, I can't just, like, only run in one direction and wait until I cycle back. I have to be more, like, focused. Yeah, her new attack We'll just make like one part of this big arena like dangerous to go in, but you can just not go there. Because you really don't need that much space to fight her. Also, interesting thing to note there, I followed up a regular magic projectile with a sub-weapon, but she only got hit by the regular magic projectile. And here, I really didn't want to eat any food, but I had to. I thought about using the roast beef, but I knew I wasn't going to take that much more damage to necessitate it. So, whatever. So, this might not... So, like, overall, honestly, this isn't as, like... In terms of preserving my health, I feel like I took more damage there than I normally did, but the fight was also over a lot faster, and it felt more like I was actually, like, playing the game. So, I'll take it. Sorry, I think me cracking my knuckles got picked up on the microphone. My apologies. And that's interesting, because Carrie says that about Dracula, and that's what Reinhardt says to Death. Although Reinhardt's line makes more sense, because he's already talking about forgiveness. But Carrie didn't say she forgave Actrice. She just said, "You suck," and then she said, "I'm gonna go fight Dracula." Do I fuck up? No, I did it right this time. Okay, good for me. Does Carrie come through on a different side than Reinhardt does? Sorry, because I usually when I get to the first room of the clock tower, I like go the wrong way at first because I jump on the wrong ledge. But so far with this Carrie footage, I've jumped on the right ledge both times, and I'm wondering if it's just because I remembered or because Carrie comes out on a different side than Reinhardt does. Although I recorded this before the Reinhardt footage, so if I remembered, whatever, it doesn't matter. I don't know why I paused there. I'm very curious to see if I hold on to the axe for the Dracula fight. I suspect that I will, because I honestly don't know where I can get another sub-weapon at this point. Now, can I just sit here and take pot shots? Okay, good. I have to keep the camera in this fucking awkward-ass position, but yes, I can just stand here and do this. Absolutely no reason not to. Now, what's over here? I think it's just a money bag, right? Yeah. I must have been hoping there was like something else in there, like an axe I could pick up or something. But I think I'm going to be stuck with level 1 axe for the rest of the game. That thing get destroyed? Wow, okay, I guess it did. I probably want the axe for Dracula just because the cross isn't bad, because the cross can also destroy his fire serpent in phase 3, but the cross can also end up hitting his phase 3 of Dracula summons these orbs that end up becoming like explosive projectiles after a little bit. Because when they hit the ground, they create these big nuclear explosions, and they like duplicate every time they get hit. So with the cross, it's just kind of flying around all over the place, hitting whatever, and so the cross can accidentally hit those and make more of them, which can be a problem. I destroyed that torch because, like, the thing is, this is the first time I decided to use the axe. I basically just decided to do it on, like, a whim. And I don't really know where all of the axes are in Legacy of Darkness. So all these torches that I had never thought about before, I'm suddenly thinking, oh, is there an axe in there? But I have a strong suspicion that I'm going to get to Dracula with a level 1 axe. And that's just going to be how it is. Which is very, very annoying. Yeah, as nice as it was, I've said this before, I'll say it again. As nice as it was, the Legacy of Darkness hard mode increased enemy damage rather than enemy health. Like, if you're gonna make weapon upgrades and sub-weapons like so rare, you're basically doing this. You might as well be increasing enemy health because you're decreasing player like damage. Yeah, this is the part of the clock tower that I always thought probably could have been cut. Because you're kind of doing exactly the same thing that you did last time. And the clock tower seems overlong to me anyway, because the clock tower in C64 is just like 3 rooms. Which is not long enough, but this is like too far in the other direction in my opinion. I mean, it's a real level. It's like more like a real level, but... But it's pretty much all platforming. Which... I guess it would have to be. It's a clock tower level. That's always... I mean, that's what makes clock tower levels to a large extent. This game is so, like, platforming heavy, it would be weird for, like, the hard platform gimmick level to not just be that. Although, honestly, the platforming in the clock tower is really not, like, that bad. I don't think I've ever died in the Legacy of Darkness clock tower. No, I definitely... No, I died once. I died to, There's, like, one place where I died, and I'll point it out when we get to it. Not during this run. I never... During this run, I think I maybe died in the Tower of Sorcery once or twice, and then I had to reload from there, but... I mean, like, generally speaking. But it's definitely scary. Even if it's not, like... Even if it's not dangerous, it's always scary to do platforming. Maybe not so much in this room, because they were nice enough to give you a very comforting floor underneath you instead of a bottomless death pit. I don't know from how far up you have to fall to go from like 100 to 0 in fall damage, but it's pretty high. Like I think I could fall off at any point in this part of the room anyway, and I think I'd be fine. So that's the next part of the room, because I always forget that this is like that this and the next challenge area are all like one big room. I always forget that. Because this part feels more interconnected to the previous parts, and then the part after this feels more like its own thing. I remember being really afraid when I first got to this part that the little platform that comes out when I flip that switch would be like timed. So I'd have to like do this part with the fire gouts like at a certain time limit in order to get there. Because that's how the first hidden platform thing worked in the Forest of Silence. That was on a timer. This as far as I can tell is not. Or if it is on a timer, the timer is so generous that I've never once encountered it as a problem. Which is functionally the same as it not existing. Okay, yeah, this part coming up. This is the only part that I've ever actually died to in the Legacy of Darkness clock tower because this arm that's like it's okay that spiked arm is spinning around. Number one, this thing is faster on hard mode, but number two, I thought I could like jump over it when it swung back around again, and I tried to jump over it, and then it like hit me in midair and knocked me back, and then knocked me off the edge of that thing, and I fell and I died. That only happened to me once, but I really remember that vividly because that was what taught me that like basically you shouldn't try to jump over that thing. You should just try to go past it. So and do basically exactly what I did there. Just wait until it goes past and then like jump across the little thing from there. That was really strange that I hit that ledge grab there because I don't think I've never not just like landed on that thing before. I don't know what exactly happened there that was different. But usually oh no, I remember. It's because usually I'm in danger of overshooting it, actually, because when you jump off of those things, you preserve... It's like your momentum gets added to the momentum that those things have. So I got in the habit of like jumping off and then like leaning back on the control stick a little bit, but there I leaned back too much, and almost didn't make it. So that's why that happened, I'm remembering now. And this timing is pretty good too, because if I'm reading the clock correctly, it's going to be daytime again soon. Which is important because Dracula has less health during daytime. And I assume that's all three phases. At least I know for a fact that's the case for the first two. I'm guessing it would be for the third as well. Yeah, and in hard mode, those two gems are only 5 gems, but 5 gems each rather. But in normal mode, they're 10 gems each, which is important to note. That's especially important in fucking Cornell mode. Because in Cornell mode, that's just like if you die on the last boss, not only do you not get any weapon upgrades, but you also only have like 20 gems. So you can be in dog form for like not very long before you run out. Look at that fog. Fog obscuring the far distance. Done, of course, to mask the N64's draw distance, but who cares? That reminds me of a story about Superman 64, actually, the infamously bad game Superman 64. Superman 64 is a game where there's also, like, fog covering everything, but, like, they mention in like the instruction manual or something that it's kryptonite fog created by Lex Luthor to obscure Superman's vision. And I'm just thinking, like, you really didn't have to bring that up. You could have said it's just fog. I don't know. That's kind of the least of that game's problems, though, from what I understand. I feel like they probably wanted to show the mist, like, moving out of the coffin. And, like, spilling out to the sides, but I guess they either changed their mind or didn't get it to work. It seems like that's what's supposed to be happening. Like the lid pops off, the mist like spreads out all over the room, and then it coalesces into here. But the spreading out doesn't quite happen. I'm very curious to see how fast this was, because on normal mode, I remember he died like really fast. I was actually shocked at how much damage Carrie's projectile was doing to him. So let's see if that happens again here. It is daytime, isn't it? There's no way it's not. Yeah, it is. Okay. Somehow that didn't hit him, even though it made the hitting him sound. Interesting. There we go. Yeah, he definitely has more health. He definitely has more health. That's fine. Carrie also has a much easier time hitting him, because when he does that attack with the halo, I can never hit him when he does that on Reinhardt, because part of his animation for that attack, that is some stupid shit. I don't know if you guys saw that, but like, my projectile like smacked right into his fucking head, but it got like blocked by his collar or something, so he was able to finish the attack and pull me in and damage me. And heal himself, so that was an especially bad attack to get hit by. And again, there, his hand blocked the projectile. What the fuck? That's right in his face. Did you see that? That was right in his face. How did that not hit him? What the fuck? What was that? Okay, that hits him. I don't know what the hell's happening. That hits him, that's normal. Why was it not? Why did that not hit him earlier? And then that hits him, even though he has his hand up in front of his face again. I am very confused. Okay, is this gonna work? Okay, it hits him from the floor, but it doesn't hit him if I jump and then do it? I am so confused. Like, Reinhardt had these problems against Phase 2 of Dracula. I don't remember this ever happening against Phase 1. Well, hopefully Phase 2 is smoother. Although history would demonstrate. Usually that's not the case. Usually Phase 2 is a lot worse than Phase 1. So if this keeps up, Phase 1 I like take damage at like, and that's the one attack you really don't want him to take damage from, because if he hits you with that, then he heals himself, as you may have noticed. And also because the way you avoid that, the way you get out of that attack is by like wiggling the control stick around, which I always hate doing. Run! Run away! I would really like to know why that one attack, like, that seemed like that was right in his face. Maybe it's a thing where, like, the projectile is so big, is, like, too big and it hit his, like, tie? Or it somehow hit his, like, collar before it hit his face? But then, I don't know. Because it hit him when I was closer to him, and then it hit him when I was on the ground, so... I don't know, I can't explain that. Fun fact, there actually is an animation of Malice holding a bow and shooting that arrow. In the game it goes unused because he just does it off screen, but that animation does exist. And it makes me wonder almost if there was supposed to be an actual boss fight with him. Because I can't understand why else you'd like make that animation and you'd make that bow and then not put it in the final game. Because that was my initial fear when I first got to this part of the game in like my first playthroughs, was that I was gonna have to fight him while he's like flying around on this fucking horse shooting shit at me, but that ended up not being the case. Oh, Jesus. Also, something about the way that he talks in this upcoming cutscene makes it sound as if killing the fake Dracula up in the throne room like activated him into becoming Dracula, but he was already like evil and crazy back in the castle center when he said that shit about like the Dark Lord or whatever. So I don't get what the connection is between killing the fake Dracula and him becoming the real Dracula. Because clearly the Dracula spirit was already inside him at that point, and capable of being activated. Like, you'd think if he was going to set up like a decoy Dracula, it would be so that like the vampire hunters that always show up would kill the fake Dracula and then leave him alone. And he could like scheme in the darkness or whatever, but instead as soon as you kill the fake Dracula, he just shows up anyway. What a puzzle. Okay, that's pretty good damage actually on that shot. Let's see if I can maintain that. Okay, this reminds me, you know what this is reminding me of? This reminds me of Dracula and Rondo of Blood on Maria, because on Maria... Oh shit, well, that's not good. In Rondo of Blood, Maria is so small that she can actually duck under Dracula's fireballs, which is kind of what's happening here with Carrie, where normally if I were to try to just duck under them at that distance, like if I was playing Reinhardt, I feel like those would absolutely hit me. Because I'm on Carrie, fortunately they don't. That was very, very fortunate. That was some really quick reaction time on my part. Because the reason I'm standing still here is because I'm trying to listen for where he goes, because there's a... You can hear, like, the sound coming from whatever direction he teleports in. And, there, I guess I must have just figured out, like, just in time where he teleported to, and then quick swung over and hit him. This is actually pretty smooth. That was almost a no damage. So that's pretty good, actually, as far as my phase 2s go. Because my phase 2s are usually very bad. Also, fun fact, this Dracula and the Dracula from Super Castlevania 4 are the only ones who give you healing items during the fight. If you destroy Dracula's bats in phase 1 or phase 2, then they have a chance to drop meat. And they can drop weapon upgrades, which is interesting. That piano sting is slightly off timing. It feels like it's supposed to do that as soon as you see him looking up with like the violet eyes, but it's like a little bit later. That's always bugged me a little bit. Not the biggest problem in the world, I can see, but it's something that I notice like every single time. Maybe he decided to show up because he thought like you would be weakened from fighting fake Dracula. Maybe that was the logic. Because if the whole castle is in the process of collapsing, you'd think he'd just like get the fuck out of there. But I guess it was only that part, which to be fair was pretty precariously situated. Being out on the edge like that, just held up purely by stairs, apparently. Oh shit. So, I'm very interested to see how this goes with the axe, because this is not something that I've ever tried before. I guess in a way, Carrie doesn't really need the cross because her default attack can ricochet around to other enemies. So maybe my thought process was that I could clear out the fire serpents when he summons them with the regular attack, and then the axe would just be good enough for everything else. But let's see how this goes. I'm not at full health. I should be. I'm probably going to eat something as soon as... No? Okay. I guess it's... Okay, yeah, there. It's not like a terrible... It's not like the end of the world if I don't do that, because I'm fairly sure that the attack... The most damage he can do to me is just like half my health, which is a lot, of course, but it means I could take his toughest attack without dying there, if I wanted to. Yeah, that's what you just saw there. That thing zooming in and duplicating. That's what's always in danger of happening. But it's pretty cool here, actually, in Legacy of Darkness, because Carrie's projectile moves fast enough that they don't always intercept it. So you can both hit him with your magic attack, but also get that orb closer to him. And that's really cool because the orb's nuclear explosion will damage you, but will also damage Dracula. Like, look at that. He just lost a bunch of health. Because the orb zoomed back over towards him, and then immediately detonated. So it turns out I guess I just don't need the axe at all. Then don't need like any sub weapon to deal with this because he's like almost dead. Interesting. It's crazy how much of a difference the projectile speed makes with Legacy of Darkness Carrie versus C64 Carrie. Like this fight and like the Cerberus fights, it's just so important. It's the difference between this fight being a fucking nightmare or being in some ways like easier than the Reinhardt fight. Or rather easier than fighting him on, you know what I mean, on Reinhardt. And there it is for the last time. Maybe not for the last time ever. I may come back and play this game again someday, but for the last time for this channel. I'll also never have to do the Nitro run again. I'll never have to do the new Tower of Sorcery again. I'm in the clear on a lot of things. But I don't feel like I could have not done any of these runs, you know? I don't feel like I could have left out, like, Reinhardt Legacy of Darkness, because Reinhardt Legacy of Darkness and Reinhardt C64, like, those are two different things. Like, they really are. And hard mode is the same way, in my opinion. Maybe I didn't have to do hard mode for both characters, maybe I could have skipped that, but... Oh well. I did it. Or maybe I could have just done hard mode. Because... Well, I don't know. I don't know. Because my plan was to do normal and hard mode because I was anticipating showing off two different costumes, but then they had the alternate costumes in Legacy of Darkness be the same as the regular costumes in C64. Whatever. It's too late now. I already did it. I already uploaded it. I already commentated everything. It's all over. Another fun fact is that I don't know why this is exactly, but apparently on the in-game map of this Carrie cutscene, there's like collapsed Dracula's castle buildings like off in a corner somewhere. And I don't know why that is exactly. Because it's not like... I mean, maybe the zoom in part of the towers collapsing cutscene, they just put it here too? I don't know. But it's there. In fact, I think it's back like past right where the fog comes in. I think it's like at the end of that path. Either that or it's like way off behind the trees or something. There's also like a big body of water off the edge of this hilltop fence you can't see. Because I guess, you know, what else would you put there, right? I wonder if the instruction manual mentions Carrie's deceased mother, because the opening text crawl doesn't. And like the first we really hear about it when she talks to Actrice, but it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't really affect the impact, I don't think. Just something I was curious about. Because avenging her mother doesn't really seem like her primary motivation. It's more like, I'm a Fernandez and Dracula's back, so this is just what I have to do. Maybe Camilla Fernandez, like, went off during, like, a Legacy of Darkness era. That would make sense. Because Actrice claims to have been personally involved in making her a vampire, and Actrice is a recent addition to the Dracula Satanist posse. Anyway, that's it, guys. That's Legacy of Darkness. This is like... I haven't played a game this hard since, like, Portrait of Ruin, in terms of, like, the sheer number of runs that I did for it. And probably the sheer amount of time that I put into it, too. And as is often as also kind of happened to me with Portrait of Ruin, it's like, with me, there's, like, a sweet spot with games in terms of, like, how much fun I end up having with them. Where usually, my first playthrough of a game, when I'm still figuring stuff out and still learning how everything works, is not really that fun. Once I get into, like, the later, like, the playthroughs where I've, like, figured things out and I'm, you know, I know what I'm doing, that's usually when I have the most fun. But then, and that sustains itself for a while, but eventually I do reach a point where it's like, okay, I've kind of had enough, or, like, I can't just keep playing it forever. And that changes from game to game. Like, Dracula's Curse, I did eventually hit that point. Portrait of Ruin, I think I hit that point before I finished it, which was bad. Here, I think I stopped playing right around the time that I think I was starting to really not appreciate it. So that was good to get out when I did. But it was worth it, you know? It was worth it to really explore everything and learn everything and get everything done that I could. No run-on fight ever, unfortunately, which in retrospect, I kind of wish I'd taken the time to, like, just farm those two vampires in the castle center that always drop 500 gold bags, and just fucking fight Ren-on. I don't know. Maybe I will someday, right? Nothing stopping me from going back and doing it one more time at some point in the future, but that's going to be some point in the future. And I'm only really like, it's only really like because Renan just has a really cool like model as a boss. He's a really interesting looking enemy. The fight is identical to the death fight in terms of the mechanics, but it's just cool to see, and it's something that's in the game, and I wish I'd demonstrated it, but oh well. Oh well. Thank you, KKEK. Thank you, Konami Computer Entertainment Kobe. Thank you for helping us laugh about love. Again. Well, of all the KKEK created Castlevania games, this one's definitely the best. It's not really facing very stiff competition, but it's definitely pretty good. And I'm not done, guys. I'm not done with Castlevania, not done with 3D Castlevania. Lament of Innocence is going to come up next and should be coming up pretty soon. I don't think I'm going to leave much of a gap between this because I'm kind of trying to get to the finish. So keep your eyes peeled for that, and in the meantime, you know what I'm going to say? Keep on Earth rocking.